Well, we have another story of a comic shop going out of business. It seems like there's one of these every other week, at least since we've started reporting. And it's really sad. I mean, I know a lot of these shop owners. They talk to me, even ones from the other side of the country, DM me and say, yeah, the sales are really bad. Thank you for your reporting. Wish there was something these pros would do about it, and they won't. The pros are really just navel-gazing. They're just looking at their own, egos and just going, isn't that great? Over and over and over again, and aren't getting any kind of messages. It's really weird. Now, the problem is the pros really aren't even pros anymore. What Marvel and DC do is they have very, very low page rates. So these guys go in, they get $50, $100 a page to write a comic, and that's not going to keep the lights on for anybody. So these hobbyists end up going in who are just like, doing it on the side, don't really care about the comics, are just doing it for a gig, and they have an endless supply of them. And so they can make these comics on the cheap, and they don't care about it because they're just keeping the properties going on the trademark level for the movies. And that's all it's really about at this point. The comics can be a loss leader, even with those cheap page rates they're paying. And it just doesn't. It's just funded because that's it. Now, as the movies are starting to decline, we'll see how well this lasts. We're starting to see slashes everywhere. I've reported a lot on IDW slashing of their staff. There's been some minor Marvel layoffs so far, but I think there's a lot more coming, and it's got to, because there's only so many comic shops left. I was talking with one comic shop owner the other day, and the guy told me that, it used to be, they used to call it like the 300, and there were 5,000 comic shops, and really only 300 carry any indie comics that are beyond Marvel and DC at all, and we were like the golden 300. I forget what the exact term was. And he says now there's really only like 300 comic shops that carry comics at all, and you're really only looking at that. Now there's comic shops out there that they'll do the pull list for somebody, or they'll have a few things here and there, but they're not they're like Funko Pop shops that have a few comics in them, and that's what he's talking about. And those are the only things surviving at all, because the collectibles, you can kind of get away from the woke nonsense when that goes on, but gosh, you really can't get away from it when you're looking at any mainstream comics whatsoever. And that's why they say comics is dying. Comic shops, the mainstream industry is, and I saw a post from Scott Snyder, who used to write Batman. Gosh, I'm really I'm really on a ADD train of thought right now. He was saying, there's a misconception in the industry saying that, if you work for DC, you're rooting against Marvel. And he actually came out and said it. Most of us are the same people, and we want us all to win. They really just go to both companies now. I'm going to show you this, how both companies are doubling down on exactly the same strategy as everything burns around them. It's like they are so oblivious. I have no idea what they're thinking. But that's what's causing these sales to decrease. And we'll get into what's happening for a comic shop in just a moment. My name is John Delarose. As I alluded to, I write comic books on my own. I do it independently, and I'm making some decent money doing so. So thank you guys for supporting. Our sales have been way up, and we've been getting a lot over the last few weeks. If you like superhero stuff, Flying Sparks is great. I've got a full 5-volume deal. Each one of these books is at least 66 pages. So you get a full graphic novel on my website. I don't even screw around with single issues. And that's it. And so that way you get to have a nice story in 5 volumes plus a companion. Flying Sparks has a lot of content, I realized, and I built something really beautiful there. And I hope you'll check that out. This is my web store. I've got digital versions of everything. I've got comics. I've got regular books. I write regular books. I'm just a productivity machine. So this is a good place to land if you want something to replace Marvel and DC. I mean, I'm really doing it here, and we're only going to grow faster as we get more people on board and make more comics. I'm working on a Space Marine comic now with all the Warhammer stuff coming out. I think people need that, and it's going to spin out of this book here, my Overmind book, which is a science fiction epic. People say this is my best work. Definitely worth checking out. The Cosmic Warrior, as you can see down below, also a wonderful work that a lot of people like. Check out any of these. There's a little something for everybody, and if you have questions on which one you think you should check out, just leave me a comment down below and just say, hey, I like Spider-Man, which one should I grab first? Or I like Batman, or I like sci-fi, I like fantasy. That's I can point you in the right direction for anything. So thank you guys for reading the books, and especially coming in so hard over this last couple weeks. This link's in the description below. My Amazon link is in the description below. I've got a Subscribe Star you can subscribe to if you want to help us monthly. And we're just getting started. And I am also just getting started with Fandom Pulse, which is my comic book news website and pop culture news website, which is doing fantastic too. Thanks for reading. And this is what I wrote this morning. Another comic shop, Cosmic Comics, closes as the comic industry spirals. Now, this is in the Midwest, and this is in a place called Belleville. And this is the comic shop owner. He made a video on Facebook Live about 4.5 minutes long. Wasn't too long. He was super sad. I feel terrible for the guy. And he's like, look, I'm making an announcement. We're going out of business. You're not going to be happy about this. And, the comic shop owners are always friendly to the customers. And he's like, I want to thank people who have been here for years. I also want to thank the new people or the people who just come in once or twice a year. I love all of you guys. Gosh, imagine if the people at Marvel and DC treated the customers like this. We might not have a failing comic industry at this point. And this is, unfortunately, how it doesn't work. You remember last year how Glenn O'Leary, he was a comic shop owner, he went online and said that things are tanking and not selling. And that's the theme that continued with this video here. Now, he didn't go into what's causing it. Glenn O'Leary did. He said that these self-insert characters, these people are coming in and, like Mariko Tamaki, and, she's a obese lesbian woman, so she's turning her characters into obese, depressed lesbian women. And then we have to read about that instead of Starfire, right? And it's terrible to read. And so after a while, everybody tunes out because it's just a tragic thing. It's like they care more about themselves than they care about the characters and the books. They really don't care about the characters. They don't even research the characters. There's not even like a real continuity anymore. They don't pay attention to anything. And then they just say, screw you, customer. You better like it or you're a bigot, right? It's a bizarre way to be, but they're so entitled because they think, because of their identity. I mean, Mariko Tamaki can't get fired because, what are they going to do? She's an obese, depressed lesbian. Gosh, that would be a bad look if they fired her. So they know they're safe. They know that they don't even need to meet sales quotas. They know that they don't need to respect the fans. It's really a terrible environment. And it's followed with a culture of fear that if you step out of line whatsoever, if you say something that is something these people don't like, you're blacklisted forever. And so it's a nasty, nasty environment all the way across the board. Well, Glenn got what happened for him talking about why his comics weren't selling in his shop. Pros attacked him. Donny Cates went after him, called him names. Ramon Villalobos, the guy who's on Ed Piskor's list of the people who were named in his suicide note, he went after him. These people just hate the fans. They hate anybody who tells the truth, and you just get shat on for it. It's terrible. So this guy here was a little more diplomatic. He didn't say why sales were bad. He just said sales were bad last year. 2023 was one of our worst performing years ever. And then he said in the beginning of 2024, it collapsed even further. Well, there's a reason for that. Nobody wants this crap. The Dawn of DC, this reboot that they did again, it failed. And they're doing too many reboots because they think if they can do an all-new number one, they can gin up sales real quick. And they can for the first issue. But it's less than the last time they did the first issue gimmick. And when they have a bad story, the people with that, they tune out. If you try to buy a Captain America book and you get some like weird communist rant from J. Michael Straczynski instead of somebody who loves America and some patriotic badass ass-kicking, well, you just stop reading Captain America, and you don't go in for another book at that point. You don't go, hey, comic shop owner, what book am I going to go read now? You just tune out and you go online and you buy John De La Rosa's books instead because, we have strong male lead patriotic characters like this one. And so that's what happens. The comic shop then just loses a customer, and it's not their fault. It's just the people at Marvel and DC who are so wrapped up in their own nonsense that they can't get over things. But Marvel and DC aren't changing. We just saw last week that DC Comics is now publishing anti-Christian bigotry. Well, that's great. I mean, that's really inclusive and diverse. It's been crazy. So what are people doing? They're tuning out of Wonder Woman. They don't want to deal with that. And DC and Marvel are doing the exact same thing. I mentioned earlier in the video that both companies are comprised of the same people. It's the same folk who took the ticket and are getting these things. Well, look, Gail Simone and Rainbow Rowell, that's a weird lesbian writing She-Hulk right now, is writing Superman Action Comics. They're putting him on their best book. Well, guess what? Marvel's putting Gail Simone on Uncanny X-Men. So they do double down on the same thing. Chip Zdarsky's writing Avengers books at Marvel. He's writing Batman at DC, and he's doing both of them poorly. So yes, they are the same people. There is no difference between the two. They used to have a friendly competition, and there was some brand loyalty between one and the other, and it was actually kind of fun because back in the day, you'd get different styles of writers. You'd have a DC style and a Marvel style. It was very distinct. Not anymore. It's all the same diversity, equity, and inclusion sludge just slapped onto a book, and you're told you better buy it and like it, or you're sexist, racist, homophobic, transphobic, Islamophobic. And then they wonder, why are sales bad? Well, for a long time, they didn't even admit sales bad, but they're finally starting to do that. We're finally starting to see pros admit there's a problem, but they're not admitting it's themselves. And until they do, and until they start to respect customers and change things like wholesale across the board, we're going to see more and more comic shops close. And at some point, there's going to be a critical mass where there's no comic shops anymore. This is your doing, Marvel and DC Comics, and it's your job to fix it. It's not mine. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to check out my comic books. Guys, if you've tuned out, I promise you really good stories. We're bringing things back in a way that nobody else is. And I really would love to have you on board and be part of this community. We appreciate you here as customers, and I listen to you. I actually put out a poll yesterday about what people wanted next, and I'm going to listen. So leave a comment, hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know what books you're interested in. I'll definitely give you more information. Go grab that below. We'll be back soon.